All right, welcome back to another episode of Unpredictable. I am your host, John Orsino, and this past week was actually my third year since my brain surgery, and it's definitely been a weird, couple weeks for me as far as mental health goes. So strange, but I know in a previous episode I mentioned that I'd have some sort of an expert on record with me on a new episode to describe some of the deficits I've had since my surgery. And it just so happens that this expert is actually my big sister, Nicole. And it also so happens that my big sister is also getting married on Saturday. So we're going to... Woohoo. All right, so Nick, you want to... Let's just dive in. Let's talk about maybe after surgery, some of the immediate deficits that I experienced.
I feel like we should go back even, to talk about where your tumor was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, so you had a cerebellar astrocytoma.
Pilocytic astrocytoma.
Oh, the cerebellum.
Yes. So I know pilocytic means benign, so non-cancerous.
So we never had to worry whether or not it was cancer.
No, absolutely not. I think that's the main reason why it wasn't taken out immediately, why I didn't have, an emergency surgery.
Right. We had time. The only reason that they did have to take it out was because it was starting to push up against your cerebral spinal fluid canal.
Correct. And it was building up the spinal fluid, which ultimately, disrupted my overall balance and coordination, my equilibrium.
Right. Yeah, so your cerebral spine, you have fluid that flows in and out of your brain, and it keeps, the pressure from accumulating, this fluid flowing through it.
Right.
So what was happening to you is it was starting to build up, and it was starting to affect your ability to go about your day to day.
Yeah, it was definitely interrupting my overall ability to function, I guess you would say.
Right. So that's why right before graduation they had to have
it was a smart decision overall to get it removed earlier than later, because we don't know if I had the surgery later on in life, when you two, I say you two, I have my little sister's a camera girl today, but if I had this surgery later on in life, and I didn't have the family, the network, the support, I think it would be pretty impossible. Yeah. I don't think any of this wouldn't be happening. I would not be sitting here, to say the absolute least. And
then also in terms of brain injury and surgery and things like that, they usually do them earlier because in life, if they can, because your brain is still what they consider plastic. So any injury or assault to the brain, you have a better chance of recovering from at a younger age versus once you get older.
Right, and I mentioned this in the previous episode with Connor. It's more commonly seen, the specific tumor I had, the pilocytic astrocytoma, it's more commonly seen in younger children.
Yes.
That it's really rare for somebody my age, a middle age, whatever, to have it. So, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, they found it when you were still pretty young,
They found it when I was 17, a senior in high school.
So 17, but you could have, that's when they found it.
That's when they found it. There was never said, when it originated.
Right.
So
you could have had it for a long time, Could have had it for a while. The only reason that it became known is because of when you had to go into the hospital.
Yes, when I had the concussion my senior year.
And then the only reason after that it became a problem was because it started to grow.
Absolutely.
So it was so your cerebellum is at the back of your head, at the base of your neck, pretty much. It's called the tiny brain. It's a smaller part of your brain. So your brain's made of 3 parts. You got your cerebrum, your brainstem, and your cerebellum. So your tumor was in your cerebellum, which is in the back, and then it was growing inwards closer to your brainstem. And that's where it was impinging on that cerebral spinal fluid canal. And that's where you started to have those problems. And then, just to give a little background on the cerebellum, which I think is really interesting.
Yes, you definitely do. You definitely do.
But the cerebellum is it controls all of the messages from your brain go through your cerebellum into your brainstem. Controls or fine-tunes everything that you do. So I've explained it to you this way, and I explain it to everyone. When you're drunk and you can't get a key in the door,
Yes.
Like it's called overshooting or undershooting. You don't go directly to where it's supposed to go. Is when you're drunk, and you're like can't hit it.
It's me 24/7.
Right. So when you're drunk, your cerebellum gets impacted. It's not able to fine tune all of your movements and all the motions that you put into play. That involves your eyes, your limbs, your speech. That's why your speech slurs, because you don't have your cerebellum helping you out.
You know what's funny is we recently got the number pad.
Yeah.
So it's no longer a key; it's a number pad.
But
So
now you gotta hit 4 numbers instead of just...
Yeah. So now every time like I'll get to the house, like I'll try to do it with my left hand.
That's good.
And it takes me maybe 15 minutes to get inside the door. It's pretty compared to my rights. It takes me 11
right,
seconds.
So much easier.
Yeah, that was definitely a weird part. Still is a
Yeah.
weird part. Not having the full coordination in my left arm. It's
Right.
super strange.
Yeah.
Go back to, as you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were saying as you're drunk. I told Connor this. It was it's like I'm drunk 24/7.
Yeah. And that's why,
pretty much.
I mean, you don't drink anymore.
No, it's been a little over 4 months since I've had a drink of alcohol, and I don't miss it. Oh my god, it makes it. It's you know what it does. It makes it obviously physically harder,
Right.
and to take that first step, overall stability, but it also crushes my confidence
Mm-hmm.
because I almost immediately start overthinking. Okay, well, how am I looking as far as walking? I already think ridiculously hard about that. So when I drink, it like kind of multiplies that by 100. And it just makes it incredibly difficult. So I just, I came to the decision that it's better off for my health that I just completely stop it. So, a little over 4 months.
Because whenever I feel like you're constantly living drunk, basically. But you've learned to compensate with it.
Yes, I feel different parts of my body like as I get deeper into my recovery. I feel maybe my left leg deserves a little bit more. What's the word? A little bit more like you step on a little bit more, put a little bit more weight on the left. I'm trusting my left leg, and then maybe I feel my left foot, the way it's hitting the ground is not properly aligning compared to my right, so that's why I'm losing the balance. So again, I'm still learning these new things, these new tendencies. It's weird, but it's also beneficial.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I feel like, so to go back, so like right after surgery when you were relearning all those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's every little detail that you had to relearn, like putting, heel to toe.
Yeah, that was a big one, actually.
Yeah, learning that all over again, where it's things that, like, you take for granted or you don't have to constantly think about because they're so ingrained in your memory. You've known how to walk since 2 years old.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You don't realize the little things that go into a step,
mm-hmm.
which is what you had to go back on and basically relearn all of those little things.
Yeah, like heel to toe. Like you would never tell somebody normally to do heel to toe.
Right.
They don't even think about that because it comes so naturally.
Right.
And I still got to tell myself to do that sometimes. It's just now it's become a little bit of a habit.
That's what it was. So, do you remember Keith was your OT for a little while?
Yeah, Keith was awesome.
Yeah, so he was the one who said to you, you gotta do something 1,000 times to make it a habit.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta do it 1,000 times correctly for it to become that correct habit.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't relearn something in a week. You executed it maybe for an entire week, but it wasn't a habit yet. Like, I still feel like you're building healthy.
The habits, I wouldn't say they're strong habits just yet. I think that I'm still forming these tendencies. My walking still isn't 100%. That's something I'm still building a strong foundation, a strong habit.
Yes.
To make sure it's a sense of normalcy when I do. It's fluid. Just like how I used to play basketball, how I would make I don't even know, like a simple thing like backpedaling up the court after someone just scored a basket. Something as simple as that. That's something you don't even think about doing. You just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to figure out all these things, like even just hand movements, this is just normal when you move your hands.
Yes, the Italian.
It's just like but I have to kind of tell myself that okay, you just move your left hand the way you're moving your right.
But you got to think about it.
And I have to think about it. This is I think I mentioned this in a previous episode also, that when I walk, and let's just say I have someone behind me or in front of me, that will throw off my way of thinking, because I'm automatically thinking, okay, well, this person in front of me is walking this way, or the person in back of me is thinking, okay, why is he walking this way? And it ruins my whole thing, and it just messes me up completely, where I'll stop. I'll have to collect my bearings, maybe wait for that person to pass me, so I'm not overwhelmed with thoughts, those negative thoughts.
Right.
And I keep going.
Right.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You good?
What are you doing?
Yeah, I was checking to see if it's still recording.
Yeah, it's going to probably stop at around 20 minutes or so.
Oh, okay.
So we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
So you were working on those things. I think that it's worth mentioning. So when you started therapy, right, we knew that it was going to take a while to regain some of those skills. We knew it was going to take a long time based on how you were that first few weeks.
We had we got the base point and kind of went from there.
Yeah. So then, and so many doctors told you it's just not. It might never come back. It might never come back. But your mindset was such a huge part of your ability to regain all these skills to where you are now, because that really was never an option. You heard maybe when Keith said that to you, you got to do it 1,000 times. And I feel like you internalized that because you'd heard that so many times with basketball or any sport.
Exactly.
Where you just got to do it, take this many free throws and it'll make your next free throw easier to you got to get the motion.
Yeah. No, 100%. I give a lot of credit to what I learned at basketball. The work ethic.
Yes.
And the discipline, the consistency. I took all of that from basketball, and I kind of put it towards my work ethic today. Yeah. And it definitely paid off. I owe a lot to what I've learned over the years on basketball. Yeah. Even though it's kind of discouraging that I still cannot pick up. I can pick up a basketball. I don't want to say I can't. But it's not the same. It's not as natural. So it's discouraging, but I learned that. I took away some lessons that I'm able to, put into what I do today, which is much more important than not being able to do anything at all. Yeah. I feel like maybe now everything happens for a reason. Absolutely. So you were exposed to all those things, and it just made your recovery that much easier when we were dealing with all this. Oh yeah, it made it completely easier. I think it also made it easier for a therapist like Keith, where in terms of I knew what the footwork, I knew what I had to do. I just couldn't necessarily do it at the time, but I knew how to properly work on it. So that's something, again, it goes back to the work ethic, that I learned from basketball. It's extremely important. Yeah, and it wasn't just basketball. I mean, I think I owe a lot to Dad for the work ethic. Of course. Because he's probably the most hardworking guy I know. He is the most hardworking guy I know. Absolutely. So to know that he's not, we know he's not very happy when it comes to maybe quitting or not giving it 100%. Yeah. I mean, do you remember what it was like for him to be on the sideline of my basketball game? It wasn't possible. Or at your swim meet, I wouldn't even be able to sit next to him at a swim meet. Well, that was the nice thing about the swim meets, because you guys were always really far away. Yeah, you wouldn't hear. I remember you saying, you wouldn't be able to hear. But yeah, I mean, knowing that you want, I still do want to make him proud of how hard I work. So that's kind of a big reason why I continue, pushing myself to the absolute limit. Right. Although I want to make him proud, I also kind of I'm kind of intrigued to see how hard I can actually push myself before my body or whatever tells me, okay, maybe you should just chill out. I don't think in terms of your rehab that's ever gonna your brain's gonna compensate, and you're gonna eventually learn that skill again.
whether or not it's lift wise, like lifting weights in your body hurting.
Well, the weights, yeah, the weights is, that was a problem for me early on when, mom used to say, you're so focused on building a muscle, you have to focus more on your balance, your deficiencies. Yeah. So I finally took that, and I changed my whole, kind of a workout plan where I'm working mostly on, lightweight, just focusing on my range of motion. So I can,
keeping that
I can get mobility, the mobility is super important, and stretching. I mean, we all know how unflexible I am. It's kind of ridiculous.
But do you remember even when we were staying in like the hotel in the hospital, just like working on some like yoga poses were so difficult because of the balance that you needed to have for them. Yeah. So trying to like
the balance is a very difficult part.
Right.
Extremely difficult part, but the vision. Mm-hmm. The vision is by far the worst thing that has ever happened because I truly do not know how good my balance can be because I can't even move that quickly without getting dizzy. Yeah. That's what's annoying, and it's correct me if I'm wrong, it's the vestibular system. That's a little
I know that they were working on that, but your cerebellum is what helps fine tune all of that. So that message has to be processed by the cerebellum. So your eyes and the motor control of your eyes, it goes back to that. Like when you're drunk, like being able to like focus on one point is really difficult. Be able to stand straight when you're super drunk, like you got that sway.
Yeah, no, I still kind of have the sway. Like if I were to stand up, do you remember when they? Yeah, no, it's strange because I see myself like maybe nobody else will recognize it, but I see myself like slowly, like you're on a boat.
Yep.
But I remember one of the exercises they used to make me do was close your eyes and try and perform the same thing with your eyes closed. And I don't think anybody realizes how difficult it is once you close your eyes to perform something. Like you might be able to stand on one leg for 20 seconds, and then you close your eyes, you try doing the same thing, you're cutting that like probably more than half.
So that's their test for your cerebellum.
Yeah. So that was definitely it was just weird to feel that, and I still do it sometimes where I'm at work or I'm at the gym, and I'll close my eyes just to like feel, like I try to feel my body. Yeah. And I realize like, wow, this is
hard.
This is weird. Yeah. It's extremely hard. So that's something I don't think I'll ever forget, that like specific exercise. Yeah. Although I remember a lot of the exercise I did. Yeah. I still do.
Well, like if you compare it to, just so that everyone can kind of get an idea of what you're dealing with day to day. Like when you've got the spins, and you go to lay down and go to bed. When you after like drinking and you're spinning. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a good way to give that example of when you close your eyes and you have to try and focus, like on standing straight while you have the spins.
Yeah, it's something I've become used to in a way. Like I've become very comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like it's strange, but if I would have to describe it, like it's pretty much when you drink. Yeah, it's literally the exact same thing. So a person who gets ridiculously drunk comes home and they have trouble going up the stairs. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really already have trouble. Yeah, I already had trouble going up the stairs. So it's something that I'm just used to. Like if I can make it up the stairs without touching anything and it feels fluid, then that's a good day for me. Yeah, you know what I mean? There's no running up the stairs.
Trying to think back, I know. So just to touch a little bit on the therapies, right? So you had OT, PT, and speech. But OT, PT were like big.
OT, PT, speech were the three in the hospital. When you first
started. And
in the hospital. Then I went to NYU and I did the vestibular therapy.
Well, so you were in acute care at Columbia.
In the hospital.
And then after that, we went to Kessler.
I think everybody knows how I feel about Kessler. I don't think there's nothing good to say about that place.
No. And then you went to the vestibular therapist at NYU,
right? And that was his name was Dave, the therapist. Him and Keith, them two right there. Top two.
Yeah. I
That,
think they
that
both had a huge impact
huge.
outside of the
Because
hospital.
what I liked most about the both of them is they spoke to me like this was my biggest thing, and you
Yeah.
probably understand what I'm going to say here.
Yeah.
People spoke to me like I was injured. And now I obviously was injured. I don't think like that's obvious, but I think when you're speaking to somebody who's obviously at a weaker point than you are, that maybe it's kind of discouraging to them if you talk low to them. If you kind of make it obvious that they are below you. I think that's extremely discouraging.
Yeah.
And I thought Keith and Dave did like an excellent job of making me feel like I was doing like an awesome job at all times. That's why I think Keith and Dave were
Well,
good stuff.
the people that you ended up surrounding, like you ended up surrounding yourself with, like you found the therapist that like worked best with you.
Absolutely.
That was a big deal.
There was some trial and error. I mean, obviously, the Kessler situation was a big error in my book.
I mean, as a therapist, I can never imagine saying any of those things.
Yeah, and I highlighted that in a previous episode. It's just you don't do that.
No.
Even if they can't do it eventually, ultimately, you still don't tell someone they can't do something. I think it's incredibly discouraging to their overall mindset.
Yeah.
And it was for me for about maybe 2 weeks. But then, like, I surrounded myself with different therapy. And
we moved on.
Who was it, right? It was NYU automatically, or was it Keith started helping me before that?
No, I think at that point, Keith, you weren't working with Keith anymore. Keith was just early on for like a few weeks. Like
he was early
on. Maybe like a month or two.
Maybe a month
tops.
or two. But he gave me like all that stuff that I still have, most of it today. I mean, I think I have something over there.
Yeah.
Wherever, it's not it's a little hidden. But yeah, he gave me like all this stuff, and it was just like, what? Do you want anything in return? Like, what's going on here? And he was just a stand-up guy. He was awesome. And then we had that terrible news about his daughter.
Yeah.
I remember that. So.
But he was a great therapist. And then even going back, I was gonna. So like when you were back in the hospital, like learning how to go up the stairs. Do you remember how difficult?
Oh, in the stairwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. That's weird.
Just like all the things that you had to relearn, like learning the stairs again was... Learning to get out of the bed was...
Yeah, so immediately, I couldn't even sit on a chair without kind of tipping, and I think that was the first little roadblock that I needed to overcome, was being able to just be stable, like in a sitting position. Yeah. Like, it's kind of weird to even think that I would not be able to sit how I'm sitting right now when I had my surgery.
Did the lean.
I would.
I guess I wanted to go back and give everyone like an understanding of all the things you had to really relearn. Like, you started with just having to sit up.
The sit up was. It's just, again, to think about it now, to think that I struggled so hard with such a simple task is just extremely weird. Like when I'm shown videos of just me laying in the bed, and I really wouldn't be able to move without causing some type of an issue. Yeah. Either it was with myself or the bed making a noise, and then a nurse or doctor would come in and they'd have something to say, and then it would just be a chain reaction.
The bell that you would set off when you tried to move.
Yeah, it was just a domino effect of a lot. So the sit up. What else? I remember specifically the target practice with the feet was a big one, which was in physical therapy, I'm pretty sure. It
speaks to your cerebellum, like it's called undershooting and overshooting.
Correct.
Getting it into the exact spot is hard when you have damage to your cerebellum or you're drunk. Like being able to hit something right where it's supposed to hit. Like that's why with the touching the nose, like when you get drunk.
Yeah, I still have a
touching one spot is hard. So I remember that, getting your foot on the foot plate, using a spoon.
The spoon.
That was a big one.
It goes back to, like, I remember what was her name at NYU. You sat in on occupational therapy session with, I think her name was Claire. Claire.
Yeah.
Claire.
Yeah.
Short little lady,
Yeah.
sweetheart.
She's sweet.
But one of the main things, I remember the one, I think you were there, the one I had to cook.
Yeah, they made you make eggs.
Yeah, I had to cook.
Yeah.
Which was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Well, you made it sound like because you were so healthy and like,
Yeah,
an
I was a
athlete,
complete hypocrite.
you ate so healthy,
Complete
but then
hypocrite.
they were like, all right, so you cook. And you were like, yeah.
No, no, I realistically,
And we're all just
Mom
sitting
would
there
just
like,
chef me out
what?
something.
You've
But-
never cooked a day in your life, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, so we should teach you how to make eggs again.
Yeah, they made me I had to make pasta one
Yeah.
day. Chicken
sandwich.
cutlets. I
Oh, I remember the chicken
I don't know how to make a chicken cutlet. What's going on here?
It just made us wonder, like, what
But-
conversations you were having with these people without us there.
Yeah, I don't know. It was obviously something strange. But after
Learning to cook,
Yes.
learning how to use utensils.
so I had to wash the dishes afterwards, and just picking up the plate and putting it back on the
Mhm.
in the cabinet.
Yeah.
That is difficult. It still is very
Mhm.
difficult. It's very important to understand is that all these fine motor
And that's like
things.
such a specific, like, you got to get
Yeah.
it just on the right shelf, on
Yeah,
top
it's
of the rest of
very-
the
and then
plates. Don't
put
slam it.
put that with my vision, and it's a pretty difficult task. I remember actually another session, we actually went on like a little field trip. We went for a little walk around the block, and a little walk for me is like
Yeah,
it was
took
a
a while.
chore.
Yeah.
So we went to a grocery store, and she made me scan through the items on the shelf just to find, like, let's just say we were looking at like hot sauce, and like you gotta
Yeah.
find Frank's Red Hot. It took me like 20 minutes to find Frank's Red Hot, but they were
In the field of all
they
of
were
them, yeah.
they were all Frank's Red Hot.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And I couldn't see it, so it was weird to like to combine the left and the vision.
Yes.
It's just a weird thing.
Well, and I don't know if we've spoken about your vision in detail, but we can.
Yeah,
Touch on that.
we can definitely dive a little bit into the vision, how that works. I'm sure you have a few questions about that.
Well, so
You're actually a smart one about this. I just
yeah.
noticed, like, the see out of the eye. You probably
Right.
know more about the eye itself.
Well, and I know I don't know how you feel about this, but like when we go to your vision doctor and he has you like do the tests and stuff,
right.
and we can see. So what you have is ataxia of your eye. Well, you have ataxia. Are you telling me no?
No. It's just like ataxia is the one where my eye.
Twitches.
Yeah.
Twitches,
Yes,
yeah.
That's the one. That's what.
But you have double. Yeah. So with ataxia, your movements aren't fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the case with like your arms, and ataxia is caused by damage to the cerebellum.
Right.
So like even your movements aren't exactly like, now they're way more fluid.
Yes, that's definitely something I still see, like when I'm in the gym or whatever. When I'm doing
Yeah.
like on a cable exercise, when I let my arm go up,
Mm-hmm.
like the negative motion, you'll see my arm just wants to stop, and then it goes and it stops.
Right, so
and
it's
it
not
goes.
like that one
No,
fluid
it's not
movement.
fluid whatsoever.
That, and then you see it, I feel like, a lot in your leg with your knee.
Most definitely.
Being able to, like, that heel to toe movement, and then it involves some sort of compression of the knee or bend in the knee, but you don't have it as fluid as you would think.
No, and my knee still doesn't want to do that fluid motion.
Yeah.
It still doesn't. It almost feels like if you're in a car with no suspension,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like that. Like you're just it's done.
Yeah.
You know?
So then, and now is the case with your eyes, you have ataxia of the eyes, so when they move side to side, you see like a little like hesitation, like
Right.
it bounces back.
Right. It's almost like, again, I always go back to the explanation of when you have your phone camera and you move it quick and it's not focusing.
Mhm.
I mean, that's pretty much how my eye operates, because that, I guess, that ataxia,
Mm-hmm.
because it's already moving when my head is pretty still, when I start moving it, it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very difficult. But I always say that, like, I've gotten super used to, like, how I see. So I don't necessarily remember what it's like to have complete 100% like vision before my surgery. So so now every day maybe the vision's a little better. I notice it completely because I believe, like, okay, this is the best my vision has ever been. I'm like, but in my life, that's a weird thing. Like, I really do not remember what it's like to just
Same.
see.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I have my prism glasses where I try explaining this to a lot of different people, but it seems people don't really seem to grasp
I
all
don't
of it.
fully understand
So,
the prism, so.
I wear the contacts. I still have my contacts in, so if I were to go do a regular eye test,
Yes.
I still have 20/20 if I cover, that whole, the spoon in your eye, whatever thing. I can still see fine. It's when that black little thing, whatever. But I would, like, if that happens, I see perfectly. It's fine. So when both my eyes are open, it's how they fuse together. It's that, I forget, eccentric movements, or what's the other one? Eccentric.
Go for it,
My vision therapist used to tell me this all the time.
They have different terms, and eyes are very complex. The way
they talk about, I call him Harry Potter. He's Harry Potter. I don't know. But I wear, now I have to wear these prisms over my contacts, so I can see fine without them. It's just when I put these on, it's almost like everything fuses together, like going back.
Well, so your eyes see in quadrants. So, like, there's the left quadrant, which you see, like, it's like a visual field to this, and then your right quadrant, which is a visual field this way. And then it's the middle that they come together to form the image. But there is a certain part that's left and a certain part that's right. Okay. And then your brain is what takes those two quadrants and creates what you see. So it's your brain that's processing it, and that's where you're having some of the difficulties, is because your cerebellum's not doing it the way that it's supposed to anymore. But it's those two quadrants, and I believe it's your left visual field that's the deficit.
Yes. It's only this eye that I guess I have the issues with. Right. This right eye, I have nothing. So back to the surgery. Yeah. It was like if it happens on your right side, your left side is messed up.
Contralateral. Yep.
Yeah. Vice versa, left, right.
So your tumor was on your right side, and that controls the majority of the function on your left side. Yeah,
it's crazy how that works like that. Like, it's just switches. You would never think that. Yep. But yeah, the vision is definitely something I've learned to just deal with. I don't know, because it's strange. It's a weird feeling to, I have to, if I'm leaning a certain way on my bed, if I'm watching TV, if I like turn a little bit to my right and I'm looking in that direction, but the TV is over here, that's just enough for me to not be able to see anything on the TV. But if I'm looking directly at it, it's fine. And then if I'm looking at you and I'm looking at the camera, there's only one camera, but if I switch, there's two cameras now. That's the whole double vision thing.
Right. So, and that's something different. So that's your diplopia. So you have the ataxia. So diplopia. So like I actually just did it. It twitched, but do a little like this. Follow my finger. So Taylor, we actually have the picture of you and Taylor doing this, where they used to have you check the finger in therapy. Yeah. So that way it like strengthen the, like, again, same thing as walking is using your hands. You have to do something so many times for it to get back to normal. But with the eyes are just a whole other ball game.
Yeah, the eyes are definitely strange, and it's complex, because like the walking and anything else I have to deal with, the left arm, you can kind of see if you're a person watching me do something, you can see the walking, you can see the difference, between now and before. Yeah. The left arm, you can obviously see that. The eyes, you can't see. Right. You don't understand what it's like to see out of the eyes, my eyes.
I think that's what frustrated you so much too when you were going through like the rehab, was like you kept saying like, but my eyes are messed up, and because we didn't see the growth or the as much as we did some of those bigger movement things. Right. It was easier for the people working with you or family like we were to get so lost in those things. And I think you had like a really hard time getting through the vision part of it.
No, I still do have a very hard time with the vision, because it's just extremely difficult. It's so fine-tuned that like even the slightest things throw it off. Like I kind of tell, like some days if I eat certain foods, it's also a big reason why I eat so healthy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like healthy foods is like a healthy mind, and healthy mind is healthy eyes in a weird way. I don't know. That's like Chano, theory right there. That's something I've learned that it helps me. It just helps me day to day. Some days I'll wake up and maybe not enough sleep kind of discourages. It makes my eyes like I'm seeing even worse today.
Right.
So that it's all things that I've had to getting used to and understanding different ways to approach certain things. Things to stay away from, like alcohol.
Right.
That doesn't help me the slightest bit.
No.
At all, actually.
Well, yeah, and you've figured out the things that like make you more comfortable. I think a lot of what you've been dealing with is now you're learning to compensate, and that's where you're learning, like with the vision, like you're learning how to compensate and still do things with it to the point where you don't know if it's getting better or what, but things are getting easier to manage with your vision. With the vision,
it's definitely becoming difficult to see if it's getting better or at whatever pace. Like, it's so easy to see that my balance is like I'm seeing very, very large improvements like over the past couple of weeks, but I cannot, like, it's almost like the balance gets better at 100 miles an hour and the vision gets better at minus fucking 1 mile an hour. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or one day the vision feels like it's tip top, and I'm tripping over my feet.
Yeah,
it's one or the other. It's like it's never the same.
Yeah,
there's never. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Right now, it's not. But like think back to all the things that you said never to a few years ago now, 3 years ago now, that have changed. Like, who knows what it's going to be like next year or the year after that.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of what keeps me sane. Yeah. And I'm also much more mentally aware of what is in what I can control.
Right.
What I can do right. And I've learned that that's enough. Like, whatever I do is fine as long as I continue to do it. And this goes back to the discipline.
Yeah.
The consistency, the work ethic. I just know, I knew how incredibly important it was for me to continue, working as hard as I did. Now, it's like if I don't do something a certain way, it throws me off.
Yep. You've got like a routine.
Yeah, I got into a routine.
Keeps you going.
Absolutely. And the gym still is a huge part of that routine. I mean, you can obviously tell as a sister that if I don't make it to the gym, the other day, we had the family coming over for
we're all here to celebrate John's 3-year anniversary, and he walks in, he goes, "Guys, I'm sorry, I gotta go to the gym."
I gotta go to the gym.
We're there to celebrate him.
Yeah.
But no, my wedding's this weekend, and the one question John's asked me about my wedding:
Is there a gym?
Is there a gym in the hotel?
Yeah, no, that's
not where do I have to be? What am I supposed? None of those questions.
I feel like people are gonna tell me where I gotta be. That's fine. I just gotta.
But where's the gym?
I gotta look for the gray area where I have the time to get in the gym.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I have my two people. I have Danny and Stefano coming to this wedding. Okay, they do not come until Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you're missing out on gym time with them.
No. So I have this room where, like, I'm going to be by myself.
We can find someone to sleep with it if you really want.
No. That's not what I'm trying. But I need to dedicate my time where I would, understand where I'm getting that.
I know what you mean. I know how it's important to you. I'm just messing with you.
I need to figure the shit out.
You will. But
yeah, so we had the family over and I had to go to the gym. It had to be done.
Well, and I don't.
That also, so I rarely speak about the mental side of things. The past couple weeks or so, I've been having a very difficult time because I do a lot.
Yeah.
I make myself pretty overwhelmed at times, but I become extremely good at hiding certain shit. I don't speak up about how I truly am feeling a lot of times because I feel like I don't want to burden anybody, nor do I want to burden myself even more. It makes me think even more.
Yeah.
But over the past couple weeks, I've just been hitting like a brick wall where it's like extremely hard to be consistently focused on, whether it's the podcast or the gym or just work or just anything in life in general, just whatever, just a simple conversation I have.
Yeah. Well, what have you been doing to manage that?
You should know this is the thing is these past couple weeks I took off from the gym.
Okay.
Because I got my tattoo.
Right.
So not being in the gym kind of put my routine in a little bit of a scatter.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily dedicating my time how I used to dedicate it. And I think it made my mind kind of overthink. And I obviously have plenty of things to overthink.
Yeah, you got enough.
I have
on your plate.
I have a lot of things I can think about. So
yeah.
I just realized that when I step out of the gym and I don't usually when I get home from work, I go straight to the gym. And not doing that kind of made me a little confused as to what was important. And I had to step away from a few things for a few days.
Right.
And then you had to combine that with
3 years.
everybody. 3 years. I mean, it's not, it's hard to explain what 3 years, for someone to hear me say, oh, it's 3 years since my surgery, what? Congratulations. But realistically, it was 3 years since my whole entire life was fucking changed.
Yeah. Everything.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not.
And it's not like it's an anniversary that we like to think about.
Fuck no. I don't like to celebrate these 3 years. I just know everybody who was at the house the other night had some type of some type
of positive impact.
Yeah, a positive impact on my recovery. It could have been a 3-minute conversation or a 3 year just sticking by my side. So I had a lot of people congratulate, this is great, I'm so happy, you look so good. And I kept telling everybody okay, this is the positive side, everyone's so happy, grateful that
I'm so you're saying about it being weird,
but it's also incredibly negative.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of a weird situation I'm in. Right. I don't know if I could, it's probably as positive. I get that.
Yeah.
It's probably, right?
Well, I guess it's all about the way
it's also pretty negative.
Well, it's the way you look at it. The way we, from my perspective coming over Friday, one, it's sad because we think back to June 3rd, 3 years ago.
Well, no, I think it's different. A different feeling for you or Taylor or mom, dad. It's different for you guys than it is for pretty much everyone else who was at the house. I mean, there's a different type of thing going on there.
Right.
So.
But it just depends on the perspective from our our perspective. If we're looking at it in terms of, wow, look how much you've done. Mm-hmm. But then also remembering why you had to do so much. So it's a sad moment, but also all right, well,
it's something. Yeah, it's
let's
something.
Look at what came from it. I feel like the person you've become, you've matured so much from it. You've got a different view on so many things.
No, absolutely, and that's why I'm grateful.
Yes.
I'm always grateful for what had happened, but it's still incredibly difficult to wrap my head around it sometimes. And you have to also realize, my surgery took place when I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
If we're talking about just life, we're talking about enjoying yourself, you're talking about going out with your friends, that was all pretty much taken away.
Yeah.
It was completely taken away, and I didn't even have a choice to say. And what really pisses me off sometimes is not one person told me how long my recovery was going to be.
Yeah.
And which I also, I've been thinking about this recently because we spoke about this in the last episode with Connor.
Right.
He said, so no one told you that, you were going to be in a wheelchair or you were going to be in the hospital for a month. And I was like, no one even mentioned it. But I started thinking, okay, maybe it was best that they didn't tell me this because maybe I wouldn't have had the surgery in the first place.
Yeah, and who knows what would have happened from there.
Yeah, maybe I would have ended up having the surgery when everybody wasn't around, and I would have had to do all this shit by myself.
It would have been harder as you got older, yeah.
I think it would have been pretty impossible, and it gives you a bigger perspective on where certain people land in life, and just a simple thing like you see like homeless people on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know why they ended up there. You really don't know. Like I
The
think,
circumstances
I think
that put someone there.
yes, you automatically assume, or a different person, a different individual automatically assumes they made a wrong decision in their life that put them in this, so now they got to dig themselves out. What if they had the surgery I had, but they had it when they were 45 years old?
Yeah.
Both their parents had passed away, and they had no one to take care of them.
Right.
So this is the perspective that it was given to me, that like you really do have to be grateful for opportunities that are given to you, and you have to make the most out of certain shit.
Right.
I think that's
Well,
in the grand scheme of things, that's how I feel.
Good.
So, but I think we pretty much covered, anything else. Is there anything else you want to say? What do you got anything good? Maybe one more congratulations for the wedding this weekend.
It's
Huge,
It's
huge.
huge. It's coming. Woo!
But
Yeah.
everybody, oh, well,
I don't know. I got a little emotional there at the end. I think I'm good.
I'm sorry. There's no emotions on this shit. We can't get all smiles.